Good afternoon and welcome to Latvia for round two of the Rotax Max Challenge Latvia season and also the Latvian Championship. A very familiar voice to those people that might know through the Euro Trophy and the B&L karting series. It's Alex Goldschmidt, the voice of European Rotax, in for commentary this weekend at the Madonna karting circuit, based 170 kilometres east of the capital city of Riga. And this particular town actually took the privilege of becoming a town back on the 7th of June 1926. We have multiple different categories in action. We have all 6 classes of the Rotax racing family. Along with that, we have Tillotson T for Latvia in competition. The sun has been very prevalent over the course of my stay over here in Latvia, a bit earlier than was originally planned, thanks to Yanis, the organiser, who got in contact with me back on Wednesday of last week and said, "Are you available?" Wednesday, and when are you available? And I had to make a few phone calls, and so here I am in person at this particular circuit. But doing a bit of research coming into this particular round of the championship. We have 4 tickets for this year's Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals up for grabs, where there will be 6 rounds. The season will conclude in the mid part of September at Jelgava, between the 15th and the 16th of September, meaning the season will be just shy of 4 months in duration. 5 circuits in total, which includes 2 visits to the 333 Sports Complex in Rotax, not too far outside of Riga, around about half an hour's drive out of there. We have tickets available for Minimax, Junior Rotax, DD2 and DD2 Masters. Quite a familiar few names in the paddock from my travels over continental Europe over the past 5.5 seasons. And the sunshine was very, very scorching yesterday. Temperatures hitting as high as 27 degrees Celsius. But here in Madonna, it's around about 20 degrees. The sun is very, very prevalent. There is hardly a cloud in the sky up above this 1,060 metre circuit. A few elevation changes, especially going through into the chicane off of the main start-finish straight. There's a lot of twists and turns. There are some notable overtaking opportunities coming out of the final corner, which is preceded by a very, very fast chicane. And through free practice over the course of this morning, I did notice that some drivers were taking differing lines to come through the final corner, as we have had 3 of our 7 qualifying sessions completed. We first of all had Micromax up earlier on today, and Patrikas Jokius from Lithuania was the fastest out of anyone in the number 25, ahead of Juris Bruksner by 22 thousandths of a second. We also have the drivers that will be running as the sort of like the amateur Rotax drivers. Martins Lapins in the number 18 was the fastest on a 50.388. So we will have a lot of action over the course of this afternoon. We'll have the first heat, then we'll have the pre-finals and the finals tomorrow, as we now get underway with Minimax qualifying. As they make their way up the hill, the reverse corkscrew, I'm going to call that, as they go into the next left-hander. Very tight hairpin. Again, another circuit that I've noticed over my viewing of the drivers through all the respective classes, where you do have to carry momentum, but there's a very, very long drag from the left hairpin, right turn complex, where you really do get to put the power down. As this is a bit of a snake complex here behind the hill, and then through into the next left, followed by, we'll be coming up very, very shortly, will be literally a flat-out chicane that you can nearly take at full racing speed into the left-hander that brings you onto the start-finish straight and across the line. So we do have quite a few drivers. Mažas Mazinas, who was second in the grand finals at Portimao last year, he's in this grid. And quite a few others, as the first lap times will be showcased next time they come around the respective corners. 11 drivers in the actual main class and an additional 2. So totaling 13. So Martin Michael Blinter, the Latvian with SM Racing, Martins Dreibi, Matis Apsits, Alex Menezes, Timas Pesarica, Rodrigo Kakas, Marcos Veveris, and Adrian Stions. Adrian Stions took the win in the final at Kandava back in late May of this year. as the first lap times are starting to come in, and Mazinas already at the top of the timesheets by nearly 0.2 of a second. Adrian Tions in the 171. And we've got the 110. That is Marco Plinta completing the top three. Just over 0.3 of a second, so a very, very fast, rapid-fire qualifying session. 5 minutes in duration. Very much the same as what we see in the B&L Karting Series and the Rotax Max Euro Trophy, along with RMC Nordic this year. So Mazinas is the fastest one out there by a comfortable margin. And for those wondering about the timings on the top left-hand corner of the stream as you're watching it right now, so a big thank you to everyone that is going to be tuning in across the next day and a half. You've also got the drivers that are in the amateur Rotax Max side of things, and at the moment it is the 124 of Ernest Ulmanis that was leading, but then it went into Matas Apsits, that is now the fastest. 1.66 seconds over Mazinas. As there is the 177 of, I think that is the 177, that is. Mazinas getting past Adrian Tions. Tions will have the opportunity to use the slipstream in the last just under 2 minutes of this qualifying session remaining here for the Minimax drivers. So they make their way through into the final corner, across the start-finish line. Any improvements from the drivers? Not quite yet, but Adrian Tions got a run of momentum coming up the hill. So Majus Mazinas, 0.147 in the lead in terms of going for overall pole position for the first race of their weekend, which will take place at just going 17:16 Eastern European summertime. So if anyone might be following me on my social medias, that's 2 hours ahead of the UK, 1 ahead of continental Europe. But the 10-strong Minimax main field covered by just over 1.25 seconds. 119. Matis Apsits goes up into 9th position, so showcases the top, the 13 drivers in all. Top 10 separated by the line. Mazinas 177 on the barreling chassis, 0.147 ahead of Adrian Tions. Then it is the 110 of Marco Plinta that completes the top three, covered by just under 0.3. So the drivers are going to have an opportunity at one more push lap after this, and then it's really about getting your skates on, getting the maximum out of the karts and the Mojo tyres underneath them. So some will be less fortunate and might not have the checkered flag waving at them, as Tions and Mazinas go on to their final lap in qualifying. So does Plinta. So does the 141 of Timos Perserica, the SM racing car. The checkered flag is now going to be out. And the first driver to get that will be the 119. That is Matis Apsits, just over a second behind. And that was with a 47.919 second lap time. So 5 of the drivers have taken the checkered. The remaining 8 are now going to see it very, very shortly. Adrian Tions, can he muster up something now to get ahead of Majus Mazinas for pole position for the heats a little bit later on today? They come across the line. Is it an improvement? No, it is not. Adrian Tions does not improve. That effectively puts Majus Mazinas on pole position for the heat later on today, which will take place over a duration of 7 minutes plus an additional lap. So Mazinas takes pole position. Following him will be Adrian Tions, Marco Plinta, Timos Perserica, Gabriel Cristian Moises. The top 5 covered by 3 3/4 of a second. Alex Menezes in the 126 places 6th place, ahead of Martin Strebe in the 113. Rodrigo Kakers in the 153. Matis Apsits in 9th, ahead of Klaus Hans in the 169. However, Marco Ververes was actually the quickest of the amateur drivers with a 40.097, and actually put the 166 into 10th position overall. And Ulmanis and Marks Kononovs rounds out the 3-strong grid in the amateur minimax class. So really, really nice to be able to be in this part of the world. This is my second trip to the Baltics within 5 weeks. As I said earlier on, it was a little bit unannounced. Well, it was literally lastminute.com call from Latvia. And a big thank you for Yanis to make the opportunity available. And I have to say a big thank you to the Independent Privateer Kart Championship and Rory Roth and their team over there. Because after everything's done and dusted, on Saturday afternoon, I'm straight back on a plane to Stansted Airport from Riga. Also, for those wondering, some little bit of information that I've actually managed to find out that Gazinkon's Hill, which is actually in the locality here in Madona, is the highest point in Latvia, just under 312 meters above sea level. But already just by the first qualifying session, that has indicated how the qualifying is one thing, racing is something completely different. Now, looking back at the junior qualification, now the results that I'm looking at, for those wondering, you can look at Speed Hive MyLaps on the app on your tablet, on your phone, live as it happens. Tom Strela took pole position. He won the finals last time out at Kandava. Lawrence Sprudo was second by just 58 thousandths, just over a tenth and a half, covered the top four with Carlos Kirikovs and Bruno Bella rounding out the top four. Estonia's Hans Markus Narusk was fifth, ahead of Ralf Stamers, Andres Opkaup, Ilya Sheremeta, Jon Kasper Jökberg and Oliver Kerg rounded out the top 10, covered by just over 4 tenths. And with the top 12, with Mati Kobakidze from Georgia, the 231, rounding out the top 12, covered by just under 7.5 tenths. And then in the senior classification, Artyom Sestakovs, who took the win in Kandava last month, was quickest, but it was 15 thousandths of a second. As now the green flag waves at the end of the pre-grid, and this time it is going to be DD2 that will be out on circuit. And it was Martin Zianovskis in 422 that took the win in the final last time out. So you've got quite a lot of drivers that have really been showcasing their pace, not just in their respective national championships, but some of these drivers, including the likes of Maxim Shurko, who took a third place finish in the final at the Rotax Max Euro Trophy just a couple of weeks ago in Val d'Argentan in western France. An epic drive from the youngster. And Thomas Birsins gave me the welcome to Latvia greeting and shook my hand in the administration office a little bit earlier on. And he was the winner of the final at the opening round of Rotax Max Challenge Nordic in Šiauliai at the Drift and Go facility in Lithuania, and did one hell of a move around the outside at turn number 1. The times are coming in. Rikards Vegvargas is leading the way on a 44.412. Maxim Shurko in second position. Elmars Mikkelsons rounds out the top 3. They're covered by just over 3 tenths of a second. Some drivers not yet out for qualifying, as we're going into 3.5 minutes remaining. The likes of, well, there are some times coming through. Edgars Vilkans, who had that titanic battle with Patrick Snolls Lochmelis in Šiauliai, where they were actually battling for the runner-up spot behind the eventual Tomasz Birsins and Janovskis in Bruges. 43.485. The times are going to be very, very fast and furious. This is the purest class in terms of Rotax application. Anyone might remember the RM1 chassis that made a debut at the Grand Finals, and everyone loved the fact that there was a 2-speed gearbox-driven kart. They got the opportunity, and then now look where we are in 2023. There is the 471, that is Elmars Mikkelson's Birel ART chassis, currently placing 9th. He's just ahead of Lithuania's Tomas Rudokas. Top 10 covered by just under 6 tenths of a second. Norris Denneberg's 44.9. Vilkans on a 44.948, currently residing in 12th position. Kelly Spuka 13th at the moment. There is Thomas Birsins coming through the top part of the hill. left-hand hairpin into the right. Another sweeping hairpin before the next left, so pretty much one very tight hairpin. It's a bit like one of those passes down, you know, like say in Italy or Switzerland, where you've got these twisty pass-driven roads. There's Lochmelis. Now the top three covered by 84 thousandths of a second. Janowskis second quickest because Edgars Vilkans has just gone quickest of anybody. 43.214 for the 477. Top 10 rounded out by Adrins Lasis. Just, it's, and the times are changing all the time. Chris Gonzemis just over half a second behind Lochmelis, who's now gone onto provisional pole with a minute and a half to go. 43.055. Over a tenth and a half quicker was the 418 in the 477 of Edgars Vilkans. Don't count out Martin Janowskis on this, or Thomas Birsins. Top four covered by 0.2 of a second. Now it changes again. Janowskis up to P2. 43.193, 0.138. And the 13 stronger covered by just over 3/4 of a second. Now another change. That is Daniel Hunt up to 5th place in the 488. 43.346. Drops Shurko down to 6th. Birsins does not improve on his previous lap. His last lap was a 43.393. Lochmelis was on a 43.176. 35 seconds for qualifying to conclude here in DD2. Begvargas, Shurko goes up to P4. 43.287. So Lochmelis will cross the line now. Janowskis has already done so. And Lochmelis, 43.112. 418. Shurko up to 5th past Daniel Hunt. So the 435 representing Lithuania, 43.287. Daniel Hunt's last lap was nearly a 43.5. Checkered is out for qualifying for DD2. Lochmelis has the advantage. And Janowskis does not improve. Begvargas stays 9th. Mikkelsen's 12th. Michaelis Buka in 13th. Neither improving. But that is going to put Patrick Knowles, Lochmelis in the 418 on provisional pole position. Any result called by myself here in commentary is provisional pending any sporting and technical checks. So we have 2 more qualification sessions to go before the racing gets underway with Micromax at 4:30 this afternoon. As the rest of the field make their way through into Parc Fermé and scrutineering. There is a bit of a breeze pickup as the commentary position, which is located with our stream director. Big thank you to Edgars and his team for providing the live stream once again. So the wind has picked up quite significantly and has been battering our tent a little bit, as in, well, the main monitor for the stream decided, well, from what I see on the screens, decided to make a jump for the desk, the edge of it thereof. But there we have, and there is one of the youngest drivers on the grid, Thomas Rudokas. Still remember Martina Stankiewicz and his good wife helped, got my assistance last year when we surprised Thomas with regards to his birthday that weekend at Marienborg, which is a great thing to do, and it just goes to show the wonderful camaraderie within the Rotax family. We've got 2 more sessions here in qualifying to go before we go on to the heats. So for those wondering, we're going to be running all the way to around about 6:15 this afternoon, this evening here in Latvia. Then the racing gets underway with the pre-finals at 10:30 tomorrow morning. They will have morning warm-up starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow, and then we'll go into the finals at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. And there you see on the dummy grid the DD2 Masters drivers that will be taking to the grid. Henrich Gruber was the winner in Kandava at the final last time out, but I have not seen his name on the entry list. But We'll see if the timing changes, anything like that. But on the entry list, I did not see Hendrich Gruber's name there. So 30-second board being shown. Engines now starting on the grid. So you'll see the good old plumes of exhaust smoke from the back end. Green flag waves, and the 5-minute qualifying session for DD2 Masters starts now around this 1,060-metre circuit. As they make their way up the hill, some drivers just slipping the back end out just to get some additional heat into the rear Mojo D5 tyres. As they come into the final part of the circuit here at Madonna. Funny enough, is twinned with a certain town in Germany that I visit on a regular basis. In just outside of Düsseldorf, Mettmann in Germany is one of several towns that is twinned with Madonna. As Tankevicius goes to the top of the timesheets on the early effort, the 5.33. He's actually not only a driver but also a team manager of the Lithuanian Birol ART squad. But then they are changing, well, the times are changing as we proceed through the sessions. So Martin Torres goes quickest of anybody, 46.332. Pitsai, the long-standing veteran, is second. Tankevicius in third. Jurisalaitis in fourth. Ilya Aloskins goes up into P3 on a 48.456. As Tankevicius now goes back to the top of the timesheets, the 5.33 instead of this 0.087 ahead of the 5.11 of Jurisalaitis. Rudis Klavins and Rikas Kansims rounds out the top four. Ivars Us in fifth, Martins Rollis sixth, Alans Kanks in seventh, ahead of Pitsai. Ilya Aloskins in ninth, Mikolas Mazinas. Of course, if you saw Mayos earlier on, that's his dad, is in 10th at the moment. Not really setting a respective lap time, but they will be coming through. Marcos Kingu rounds out the top 11. And then we also have two drivers who are not in the full class, but in the amateur classification. Christoph Kalexons in the 5.06, 48.491. 5.06 actually rounds out the top 10. Mariana Baranovskaya. I hope I've got that name right. I knew I was going to be tested again. Yanis, it's all your fault. But Tankevicius still leads the way in time qualifying as we are coming to 2 minutes on the timer remaining in this 5-minute DD2 Masters qualification session. That is Jurisalaitis in the 5.11 across the line. Does Jurisalaitis improve? No. 44.272. No improvements going into the second half of this qualifying session. We'll set the grid for the first race of their weekend, which will be the heats. That will take place at 5:30 p.m. Eastern European Summer Time. Tankevicius putting his best foot forward. It's always a good sign. He's been plagued with injury this year as Martinas. When I saw him in Val d'Argental, he had an ice pack on his left foot and was cooling it using the water tap by the fence. That's the kind of lengths that any driver will go to in order to just make sure that everything's okay. And also, when I saw him in Chaude for RFC Nordic in Lithuania, he actually had his right ankle taped up as well. So it just goes to show that despite injury, you can still get behind the wheel of a car. If anyone might remember 2018, Sweden's sensation that is Matilda Olsson was had a damaged knee, left knee, and still got in the car and whooped everybody's backside and placed third and qualified for Team Sweden that year. 30 seconds on the time. It looks like Tankevicius is calling time on his session. Still 87 thousandths ahead. Zalaitis still second. Kansim's third. Mazinas now up into fourth position with a 44.254. So that was a 47.398 as we come towards the conclusion of the session. There is the 5.99. That is Ilya Oloskins for the RM Latvia crew as the checkered flag is out for qualifying. Tankevicius showing as top of the timesheets, as just behind him is the 5.95 of Almans Kanks that is pulled in behind. But provisionally Martinas Tankevicius becomes your pole position sitter for the heat later on this afternoon. He actually placed second behind Hendrik Gruber back at Kandava last month. As Gunn seems talking to his mechanic. See, Harold, you can hear me. You can hear me. I saw a cheeky smile on your face. But the good thing is seeing so many familiar faces in the paddock is actually quite nice. Where you know, with the Euro Trophy, the BNL Karting Series, which I must remind people, whoever is already competing, if some of your fellow drivers want to come over to Marienborg for either the second round of the BNL Karting Series or the third round of the Euro Trophy, the first and second weekends of July, spaces are still available. But Martinas Tankevicius takes pole position, Juris Zalaitis takes second, Rikards Kansims takes third, Nicolas Mazinas and Pritsai round out the top five in that session, covered by just over 4 tenths. Klavins in the 5.69 was 6 ahead of Ivars Us. Martins Roris, who at one point was at the top of the timesheets, placed 8th. And Armand Skanks actually drops to 9th at the flag. Ilya Aloskins places 10th ahead of Margos Kingu in the main classification. Kristaps Kalixons puts in a best effort of a 46.567 in that session, with the 5.26 of Mariana Baranovskaya put in a best effort of a 48.963 during 6 laps of qualifying. So we have one more session to go, and I've commentated on these karts before, the Tillotson T4s, so I have to give a good shout out to our friends over in Ireland that make this programme work, and great to see that there is a lot of, there's a great grid, a very, very significant grid here at Madonna Karting Circuit. And there's quite a few of them getting ready for their qualifying session, which will be up next, and then we'll get underway with the racing action at 16:30 local time here. Also, for those wondering at home, Madonna itself has the largest collection of decorative trees and bushes in East Latvia. Total area of around about 130 hectares. It's quite impressive when you think about it. There's quite a few nature reserves. There's around 20 artistic and theme-derived exhibitions every year in this region. And it's in the Vidziemi region here, as I said earlier, 170 kilometres east of Riga. And it's about a 2.5 hour drive, as myself and Yanis's wife Jana made the trip last night after I landed in Riga. And now we go on to our final qualifying session here. It's the Tillotson T4s. So we have quite a substantial grid, as I alluded to a little bit earlier on. So the good thing is that these karts are pretty much, they're the same chassis, the same engine, 290cc on these karts, and they make a very, very different noise to what the Rotax karts provide. So with the Tillotson T4s, I actually have to give a shout out to the product engineer at Tillotson Racing over in Ireland, Andrew Fallon, who is one of the people that I've actually had the chance to actually speak to when Tillotson T4s have been running. And there is a one-off event that happens as the 999 gets told, just go, come on, just go. And that was rival driver who just went out in the 999. So we've got 18 Tillotson T4s. A very, very distinctive rumble from these karts as they're... oh, we've got a yellow flag coming up the hill, so someone has had a little bit of a moment, and that was on the tight left-hand hairpin going down from the reverse corkscrew. Well, we've got 19 drivers actually, as they're starting to come across the line. Driver Felipe has just put in a 53.799. Kiros Dimitrev's 54.125. Chris Yanis Kaunet running out the top three, covered by just under 7.5 tenths of a second. Just briefly on the screen was David Zalmans in the 949. There is the original pulse at the moment. We're just over a minute and a half of this 5-minute qualifying session completed here in Tillotson T4. And one of the beauties about this particular class is it is effectively you buy it as a package, and it's an affordable entry point into karting, and for people to gather their skill. As Dimitrevs goes up to the top of the timesheets, but then David Salmans goes quickest of anybody, 51.109. Yanis Kudovs goes third place on that's now fourth, as Haris Gladkins goes P3, 51.223 for the 991. And when you look at the top 15, rounded out by Christopher's Kaunet, they're covered by just under a second and a half, with hundredths of a second sometimes separating drivers. It is going to be very, very close indeed. We're halfway through the qualifying session at this moment, and David Salmans is leading the way, 51.019. And David Salmans actually won the finals last time out on their third round of this year, when they actually joined us at Kandava. Already David Salmans getting through. That was on the 969 entry, and that's Juris Calvelis. And Salmans has improved again, so has Dimitrevs, and Christopher Kauner has gone up to P3. Elisabetta Johan Sulse has gone fourth, and she's put in a 50.506. Top four covered by just under a tenth. Zalmans goes back to the top of the timesheets, 50.412, as we head into the final minute and 20, up the reverse corkscrew, off of the start-finish straight. It's a 290cc engine, very distinctive, different rumble. And if you actually listen closely enough, and I was actually spectating when they were out for a practice session earlier on this morning, that when they come out of the final corner and they go up the incline, it actually sounds like very similar to a small private helicopter flying away into the distance. It's quite deceptive how an engine noise can sound when they get further and further away. We're into the final 40 seconds of this qualifying session for Tillotson T4 here at Madonna karting circuit. And Zalman's using the slipstream by being behind the 910 of Kristianis Kauna as they go bumping over the curbs. There is the person who's provisionally going to be on pole position. But, well, now that has changed. Hadis Gladkins has just gone top by 71 thousandths, 50.131 seconds, as the timer counts down. The checkered flag is now going to wave as the timer expires. That's it, 5 minutes are up. So who is going to get pole position for the heat this afternoon at 6:05 p.m. local time here in Latvia? Will it be Gladkins? Will it be Zalmans? Will the 925 of Zulice go through as Zalmans crosses the line? Does not improve. Kudovs goes fourth. Dimitrev's fifth. And the 925, Elizabeth Johan Sulce stays in fourth position. Actually goes to third position. Kilos Dimitrev's sixth. Peteris Rusa in seventh. Rival Dripa, who was the fastest at the midway point of the qualifying session, ends up 8.381 down. Top 10 covered by just over 0.4 of a second, with Daniel's Petris Berzins rounding out the top 10. Andres Klinkans in 11th, Laurens Dupe 12th, Gerds Labskans. I'm trying to get these pronunciations right, folks. Juris Calveres, Martins Ritovs rounds out the top 15. The entire field, 19 of which rounded out by the 977 of Viga Diripe, and they were covered by just over 2 seconds at the end of that. Also, that concludes qualifying for all the respective classes, and we're going to go into the racing action. So for those wondering, so the first race will be Micromax, and that will be 6 minutes plus an additional lap. Junior will be up next at 16:43 local time, and then Seniors at 1700, so 4:43 and 5 p.m. So up next will be Micromax, Rotax. Well, it'll be the RMC Micromax and the Amateur Micromax. They'll be going on track for a 6 minute plus an additional lap race. Then it'll be Juniors next at 16:43, 9 minutes plus an additional lap. Seniors, 5 p.m, 9 minutes plus an additional lap. Minimax will be out at 17:16, that's 5:16 p.m. That's for 7 minutes plus an additional lap. DD2, 5:30, that'll be 10 minutes plus an additional lap. And DD2 Masters at 17:47. Tillotson T4 will close the action at 6:05 this evening with a 6-lap race. Well, after qualifying was completed just a few moments ago, we are about to get the racing action underway as the green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid. Here for Micromax and Amateur Micromax, it's 6 minutes plus an additional lap. Let's take you through the starting grid for this first race of their weekend. So after qualifying earlier on, it was Patrikas Jokius that took pole position. He'll have Juris Pluksna alongside on the front row. Remijus Krasiunas will be on row 2 and Emilis Juozaitis will be alongside. Armand Bujans and Christian Skakauskis will be on row 3. Dominiks Dargis and Davidas Dargis will be on row 4. Then Dominiks Bertans will be on 9th position. Then you'll have the likes of Martins Lapins, Rodrigo Taurins and Carlos Berensons rounding out the grid. So it is going to be 6 minutes plus an additional lap for the first of their 3 races. So the format very different to what I've seen in the Euro Trophies. They're going to go onto their formation lap and it will be down to the front row. So it'll be down to Jokius and Pluksna to control the rolling start pace. So it's Jokius, Pluksna, Krasiunas, Juozaitis, amongst others that will be on the top 4, and this will be very, very telling how things will go, but they will have to start getting themselves together into formation. As Jokius will now start to slow and Pluksna now closes in. The driver's being told to slow. And there they are, the youngest members of the Rotax racing family. A great entry point. There you can see a bit of an adverse curbing on this chicane. You've got to really, really watch it going through into the entry point. As everyone now starts to line up, they're being told to slow, get into formation. So the drivers make their way out of the final corner. Are we ready? Are we steady? The drivers head into the tram lines. The revs start to rise and looks like we are going around again. The green flag did not drop on that particular occasion, so that was a full start, the first one. There's a little bit of nerves that always sets in thereof when the drivers make their way into the tram lines. They were all neatly into formation. But one of the things that they can't do is where the yellow line is, they can't, until that green flag drops, they cannot break formation. Because if they do, there's time penalties coming their way. So Jokius now has Pluksna to his right-hand side, as they now will get into formation a little bit quicker, close up ever so slightly. And Jokius was the winner back at Kandava last time out in the opening round of the season. So we have a second attempt at the race start to truly get the racing underway. A total of 21 races over the course of the weekend. The heats this afternoon, the pre-finals tomorrow morning, then the finals tomorrow afternoon. So it's Jokius on pole in the number 25. Pluksna alongside in the number 63. Then Krasiunas and Juozaitis, 99 and 17 on row 2. Out to the final corner we go again. Are we ready? Are we steady? The revs start to rise this time. Do we go green flag? Yes, we do. And oh my goodness me, that is a bad start for the number 25. And oh no, that is not what you want right there, because Jokius bogged down and pulled straight onto the grass on the run up the reverse corkscrew. But it is Pluksna that is leading the way in the number 63. One of the fastest drivers at the opening round, as there's a look up the inside, a little bit of a touch between 15 and 17. That was Bujans on Juozaitis, and they're side by side going into the next right-hander. As Pluksna has got a commanding lead, as we're not even towards the end of the opening lap. That's probably going to be at least north of 6 to 7 tenths of a second as they come through the chicane, through the final left-hander for the opening lap. Lap 1 completed. Pluksna's lead is a second. Bujans in 3rd. Skakauskis in 4th. Dargis in 5th. Krasiunas in 6th. And Davidas Dargis rounding out the top 8, and that's Martins Lapins, who's in the amateur class, is currently running in 7th place at the moment as they make their way through. Pluxner looks to extend that lead. Bujan's still trying to close in on Juozaitis for that 2nd place. They've got to watch out for Christian Skakauskis just behind them, but the train is closing in. Dargis, Kriausiunas are very, very close. So the top 6 last time around were covered by just over a second, as now Bujan's looking for the move and goes side by side. Juozaitis holds his nerve and holds his position. Oh, and Bujan's runs a little bit wide. Skakauskis was nearly up the inside at the top of the crest. And now there's going to be a change for 4th. That would have been Dargis on for 5th. That would have been Kriausiunas, I believe, on Dargis. So 99 getting past 91. Pluxner's lead, I mean, he's already hitting the 49.8s. Juozaitis was a 50.4, Bujan's 50.3. But a real shame there for Patrikas Jokic that got didn't even get going. Everyone else planted the throttle down. It could have been the fact that the engine might have been flooded, the spark plug might have had a problem as they are jockeying for position. And that is 23 plays 99. That's Skakauskis versus Kriausiunas. And Kriausiunas has got past Dargis in the number 91. So that is a change for 6th overall. Or 5th overall. So Kriausiunas, the 99 from Lithuania, rounds out the top 5. Pluxner now has a lead of just shy of 2.1 seconds. As we're on to our 3rd lap of racing. 6 minutes plus an additional lap, and Pluxner has checked out already. There's a little bit of a look there. And that was by Martins Lapins. Looks to be on a Praga chassis. Closing in on Dominik Dargis for that 6th place overall. As talk about cutting the nose off to spite the face. Skakauskis was absolutely ruthless right up the front of Kriausiunas in the number 99. And that was coming down the start-finish straight. The 23 went straight on the defensive. There's Dominik Dargis on the Esprit chassis. As we go into the final 2.25 minutes of this opening race out of 3 for the Micromax drivers. We'll start the action tomorrow morning at 10:30. So coming up to the final 2 minutes, Pluxner last time around after 4 laps had a near 2.5 second advantage. The 63 from Latvia has just gotten away into the distance, and no one else is able to chase him down. Maybe Patrikas Jokic had the opportunity, as now we've got this real good battle here between Kriausiunas behind Skakauskis up the hill through the reverse corkscrew once again, and all bit sideways going through into the top part of the hill by the number 23, but still keeps it pinned. But there's the move up the inside. Kriausiunas past Skakauskis. That's now for 4th place, and the 23 is not done yet. It was very, very resilient was the number 23 of Christian Skakauskis. Trying to get through back on Remedios Kriausiunas for that 4th place, so that is a change for position. 11 drivers still running as our race leader is about to complete lap number 6. We've got just under 60 seconds on the timer. And the gap now expands to nearly 3.3 seconds. Battle for 4th, still very, very heated. Keep your eyes on 6th and 7th, because that's Dominik Dargis coming under fire from the number 18 of Martins Lapins. And if you take the S off of Martin's surname, that's the French for rabbit, lapin. Interesting bit of trivia there, and a bit of multiculturalism from your English-speaking commentator. There we go. But there is the number 18, Martins Lapins, still, and he's up the inside. The 18's got through on the number 91. That's for 6th overall, as we're heading into what will now be our penultimate lap. As Juris Pluxner will come across the line. Lap 7 completed, and has just put in the fastest lap of the race, 49.431. Just behind Juozaitis, Bujans is ahead of Kriausiunas, who's up the inside. I think it's just got through, and there's another change. Dargis back up the inside of Lapins. Lapins looking towards The outside now to the inside. Owen gets through on the number 91 through the left-hand hairpin. And that was a great little move. Just waited for the window of opportunity to present itself as the timer has expired after 6 minutes. As Juris Blugsner will now go on to the final lap of the race. There is the number 63. It's been a calm and composed performance by the youngster from Latvia. Up the hill, through the reverse corkscrew. 3.729 seconds over Emilis Juozaitis is Blugsner's lead right now. As he makes his way through towards the far part of the circuit. We'll just have the twisty stuff to contend with after the short blast down out of the left-hand 180-degree hairpin after they come down from the reverse corkscrew. But in the dying moments, what we do have is Bujans and Skakauskis are literally quite close together. But the checkered flag will come out this time. It is going to be Juris Blugsner from Latvia that takes the heat win in Micromax. Second is going to be Emilis Juozaitis and the number 17 from Lithuania. Remigijus Krausiūnas takes third place ahead of Armāns Bujans and also Kristians Skakauskis. Great job by Martins Lapins, finishing sixth at the end of that one. And we've got the number 93 of Tautvidas Dagis in seventh place in the classification in the actual main class. And Dominic Bertrands rounds out the eight that finishing 19 seconds down. Carlos Berensons actually placed in eighth position, I believe. 14.658 seconds behind the eventual race winner, Juris Blugsner, who completed 9 laps in a total time of 7 minutes and 27.8 seconds. So Blugsner takes the advantage going into the pre-final tomorrow morning at 10:30. And that concludes, folks, the first of 7 races today. There is going to be a recovery for Patrikas Jokius's number 25 kart that unfortunately is at the side of the start-finish straight on the left-hand side, just by the main gradient of hill to his immediate left. But very shortly, coming up next will be our next race, and that will be the heat for Junior Rotax. So now we go on to the second race of this afternoon. The green flag waves in the air. And here is your grid for the heat for junior Rotax. After qualifying this morning, it was Tom Strehler that took pole position. Alongside him on the front row will be the 299 of Roland Sprude. Then we have the 209 of Kalis Kirikovs, followed by Bruno Perla in the number 219. Estonia's Hans Markus Narusk will be on the inside of row number 3 on the 255. Ralf Stammers in the 262 Sodi kart will line up alongside the Estonian. Follow then up with the 218 of Andres Urkaup and the 210 of Ilya Sharameta. That's your top 8 completed. Joel Kasper Joipere and Oliver Kerg in the 225 and the 263 round out the top 10. Elisa Stolchamani will start 11th alongside Georgia's Mate Kobakidze in the 231. Richard Riekstins will be 13th in the 222 with Richard Kekulis in the 272 rounding out the grid. And the race will take place over a duration of 9 minutes plus an additional lap of this 1,060 metre circuit here, so just a shade under 1.1 kilometres. So the drivers getting into formation. Tom Strehler and Roland Sprude will control the pace in this 9 minute plus an additional lap adventure. So the drivers come through into the final corner and they exit. Are we ready? Are we steady? The junior Rotax division heads into the tram lines. Green flag waves were underway first time. Good start by the pole sitter as Kalis Kirikovs goes up into P2. Sprude drops down into third position. They are bumping over the curbs, coming over the crest of the hill. There was a green flag wave there. So I'm not too sure if there was a yellow a little bit further back, but Tom Strehler in the 238 running with SM Racing is leading the way. Look at the train just behind. Bruno Perla rounds out the top 4. Ralf Stammers has managed to get his way up into 5th position, it looks like, on the Sodi kart. So he's already made some gains as it all stands. Oh, drama there for the 225. That is Joel Kasper Joipere from Estonia, who looks to be out of the race. Strehler has a lead of 3/10. Kirikovs, Sprude, then it's Bruno Perla running out the top 5. Stammers running out the top 4. Stammers completing the top 5. Ilya Sharameta. There's going to be a change here. There is going to be a change. There's a bit of a squabble as the 209 of Kirikovs dies up the inside of Bruno Perla. Ralf Stammers was also looking up the inside of the 262. So Tom Strehler now gets away into the distance. That gap is probably going to be the best part of just around about half a second at the end of this second lap of this race. We're into 7.5 minutes completed. Well, that's actually my calculation was probably a little bit on the wrong side. Well, it was a bit more on the righter side there because Strehler is leading as they make their way through into the next right-hander. Then it's another left-hand hairpin before the run down into the next technical part of this circuit. Tom Strehler's lead is 9/10. I was way off in my estimation there. Kalis Kirikovs rounds out the top 3. Bruno Perla in 4th. Ralf Stammers, Ilya Sharameta, Hans Markus Narusk, Oliver Kerg, Andres Urkaup and Elisa Stolchamani round out the top 10. Riekstins, Kobakidze, Kekulis rounding out the 13 that are still running, unfortunately, after part way through the opening lap. And that is Elisa Stolchamani trying to get past the 218 of Andres Urkaup. Elisa, the younger sister of Urkaup, gets a bit sideways, and here comes the crisscross. Stolchamani up the inside. That is 9th position for the 211. And she's not quite getting away just yet as dearie me, mind your front bumper, Mr. Upkalp. If you don't want to hit the back bumper of Alize Stolchamani too hard, because you'll end up getting the bumper pushed in, and that'll be an automatic 5-second front fairing penalty post-race. Strela at the moment is absolutely flying. He's just put in a 45.469. Now it's a 45.4. Spruda has started responding, but he's 1.1 seconds behind. Karlis Kirikovs in the 209 is really hunting the 299 down. So please ignore the timing screen at the top left of the corner of your screens. 3 minutes and 25 seconds of this race completed. Tom Strela is doing a bit of a Sebastian Vettel like his old days back in 2010, 2011, 2012 and 2013, where he picked up 4 Formula One world titles on the bounce. But the fastest lap of the race is no longer in the hands of Tom Strela. He put in a 45.442, but then straight away, Roland Sprude started responding with a 45.417. However, the gap is not coming down. It's nearly 1.2. Karlis Kirikovs in the number 209 is fast approaching the back bumper of the 299. So the battle for second position is not just a 2-horse race. You add to that Bruno Perla in the 219. Ralf Stammers is trying to close on in. Bruno Perla last time round set a blistering lap time of a 45.221. We're nearly halfway through this race. As soon as we hit 4.5 minutes to go on the top left-hand corner of your screens, folks, that's when things could be interesting. Sheremeta, Kurg, Narusk, Stolchamane and Upkalp continue to round out the top 10. And the lead now expands to 1.334 seconds. Tom Strela 45.163, but he didn't get the fastest lap again. Bruno Perla in the 219 in fourth place, 45.172. So the times you're seeing are the respective lap times set by the competitors, not by the actual distance between drivers at the moment, because I can tell you this honestly, Roland Sprude is really coming under significant pressure. It's not a 2-horse race, it's a 3-horse race for that second place. Sprude, Kirikovs and Perla were covered by just over half a second, and that gap is shrinking. It's just over 3.5 tenths. Bruno Perla, the first driver to dive into the 45 zeros, 45.096, and there's the move for second. There's the move for second. There's the move for second. And now it could be a change for third as round the outside. Kirikovs gets through for second on Sprude, and then Perla has the presence of mind to get through round the outside. And there is Ralf Stammers. The 299 of Roland Sprude is going backwards at this moment in time with just over 3 minutes on the timer plus an additional lap remaining. Keep your eyes though on sixth. Ilya Sheremeta could close. Has been putting in 45.4s and is 1.2 seconds off of sixth position. But Kirikovs and Perla is stealing a march on Roland Sprude. And because they were battling, Tom Strela putting in a 45.1. He's now got a 2.4 second advantage. As Tom Strela. And that just goes to show, when you get that window of opportunity to fly away into the distance, you are going to get the wind beneath your wings, no pun intended there, or beneath your side pods in the case of Tom Strela. And now, second has reignited, but it's two new challengers. It's Karlis Kirikovs versus Bruno Perla. 209 plays 219, but do not count out the driver that occupied second position for quite a significant portion of this race, Roland Sprude, who started on the front row alongside Tom Strela. Stammers is starting to falter a little bit, might just be conserving those tyres. They might have been fresh a little bit earlier on today, but now they are really, really rubbered in. Minute and a half still to go on the timer. Tom Strela still leads. What's his advantage now? Is it going to be north of 2.5 seconds? It is still 2.4, and Bruno Perla top three, folks, on this. 45.105 for Sterler. Kirikov's 45.1 flat. And a 45.154 by Bruno Perle on the previous lap time. They are getting quicker and quicker as the race progresses. We've got just under 60 seconds on the timer. Still to go in this heat for Junior Rotax. And at the moment, 13 out of the 14 drivers still running. Unfortunately, Johan Kaspar Joipere breaking down at the side of the road on the opening lap. So Sterler now has a 2.6 second lead. Perle looking to strike on Kirikovs. And now Tom Sterler has the fastest lap of the race. I'm sorry, Bruno Perle, your thunder has royally been stolen by the 238, who last year is a Minimax driver. Tom Sterler finished just 1 point behind Boris Maximov at the final round when on the final race of the 2022 Euro Trophy Minimax Championship at Karting de Fagnes in Marienburg. He finished 1 point behind and missed out on a ticket to the Grand Finals. However, he qualified through the Latvian Championship last year. Last lap board is out. And now it's just to put it into cruise mode for Tom Sterler. And his lead has shrunk to just under 2.6 seconds. But he doesn't really need to worry himself about what's happening behind. But Roland Spruder is not that far adrift off of the two in front. It's going to be a tall order to try and do something unless it's out of the final corner in a drag race to the finish. But Tom Sterler, starting from pole position, is going to come out of the chicane. And the 238 is going to come out of the final corner. He's going to pick up the win in the heat. Second, it's going to be Carles Kirikovs, Bruno Perle, Roland Spruder. Roland Spruder puts in the fastest lap of the race on the final lap, 45.044. Ralf Stamers takes fifth, Oliver Kerg, Ilya Sheremeta in seventh, Hans Markus Narusk in eighth, Alize Stolchamane in ninth, ahead of Andreas Upkaup, Matti Kopakidze, Rikards Rikstins and Rikards Kekulis complete the Kekulis ran at the top, the 13 strong, with Joel Kaspar Joipere unfortunately retiring on the opening lap. So there will be a minimal delay as the recovery vehicle will go out to bring the 225 back to Parc Fermé. But there is your race winner, and it was in very, very convincing fashion. Tom Sterler, within the first three laps, had opened up a second gap over his rivals, with Kirikovs, Perle and Spruder battling away over second. That would go to Kirikovs at the checkered after 13 laps. But a great battle between Kirikovs, Perle and Spruder. And there is the 225 of Joel Kaspar Joipere's kart sitting by one of the tyre barriers, and that will be collected shortly. Up next, we are going to one of my favourite Rotax classes. Senior Rotax up next. It's the heat, 9 minutes plus an additional lap. Well, the green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid. It's time for senior Rotax. And we're going to have a look at the qualifying results. And it was nip and tuck. Artyom Sestakovs took pole position by just 15 thousandths of a second ahead of Estonia's Tonis Johannes Tumingas in the 352. Keep your eyes on the likes of Romans Rodionovs in the 362, who was only just under a tenth and a half off, will start on the inside of row 2. Kalis Bridges will start fourth ahead of Lado Kukanice and Kate Drobiseva. Artur Karu and Noyos Gerolaitis. Simsep and Danis Grava will complete the top 10. We also have the Didzis Sulks, who will be in the amateur classification in the senior Rotax side of things, as they will get underway with their formation lap. Ahead of a 9-minute plus an additional lap race. After this, we will go to Minimax. Slightly delayed due to the fact that we have had 2 recoveries, but big thank you to the recovery crew and the marshalling team for making things run very, very smoothly here at the Madonna karting circuit, based just 170 kilometers east of the capital city of Latvia, Riga. So there you'll see the different nationalities that we have. So we have Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, and Georgia as well, along with that. So we did have a clean start first time for juniors. Will we have the same for seniors? We are literally seconds away from finding out. 9 minutes on the timer plus an additional lap as the entire field makes its way through the last chicane on the circuit before going through into the final corner here at the circuit here in Madonna. So wait for it. Here we go. Are we ready? Are we steady? The revs start to build. The drivers hit the tram lines. Revs rise. Green flag waves first time. And it's a good start. Level pegging between the front row. Tumingas trying to go towards the outside into the reverse corkscrew. But Sestakovs keeps the lead early doors. Rodionovs holds station in third place as they head down the hill. There was a little bit of a dive up the inside. That was Drobiseva, I believe. And she's going for it again through the very next left-hander. And now it's side by side for the lead. Tumingas on the outside of Sestakovs. Looks for the crisscross. Can't get the job done. And Rodionovs is waiting to pick up the pieces. So straight away, Drobiseva was on full attack early doors and has dropped back a little bit behind. But 6 is being hotly contested between the likes of Gerolaitis and Kukanice. Sestakovs leads the field round the final corner to complete the opening lap, and it was nothing. 66 thousandths between first and second. Top 5 were covered by 0.36. That is, well, that's the those are the lap times that are being shown, but it was 0.4 covering the top 4 places. Top 5 covered by 7 tenths. As Tumingas now is in the lead of the race, having got past Sestakovs. Rodionovs in as, oh, there's a change, and that is Kate Drobiseva. Drobiseva up the inside, and that was on Rodionovs, I believe. That was a very, very audacious, very, very sort of like, right, I'm going to do a Danny Rick. And Kate Drobiseva obliged, but now is the hunted. It's one thing to chase and pass somebody. It's something completely different altogether when you're trying to defend. You've got to make the back axle and the back bumper of that cart of yours as wide as humanly possible. Coming up to 7 minutes to go. And the fastest lap of the race is Artur Karu in the 3:42, down in 7th position, who is battling with Lado Kukanice. And that is the battle for P6. And just behind them will be Simsep, Danis Grava and Noyos Gerolaitis. But Tumingas leads the way. Drobiseva has just put in the fastest lap. Keep your eyes on the 350. Just under 6.5 tenths covered the top 3. Top 4 covered by just under 9 tenths of a second. And someone else has just joined the party. Hello, Carlos Brigius in the 322. Drobiseva going defensive. Coming out of that left-hander, was a little bit further over to the left-hand side in order to compensate for the racing line and not to give Rodionovs an opportunity to just steamroll through on the right-hand side of the very next corner. That's not how you defend. How you defend is you keep your opponent guessing. Dominguez has a lead over Sestikovs by now just over 0.2 of a second. Top 5. Grounded out as now there's going to be a retake of the lead. Is there? Sestikovs side by side with Dominguez. Is he going to get the crisscross this time? Oh, no, he isn't. He was there or thereabouts, but that's brought Kate Drobiseva into play. Romans Rodionovs and Kalis Brikis into play. So top 5. This is now a senior Rotax strategic chess game. Or maybe a blackjack game if you like your poker. He likes to gamble. I don't gamble. If I gamble, it's a sportsman's bet, which means the winner doesn't lose anything, or the winner doesn't gain anything, the loser doesn't lose anything. You're really going to have to keep your cards close to your chest at all times during the race. We've still got 5 minutes to go. Dominguez is leading. He's the one with the bullseye on his back. Sestikovs wants that lead back. Drobiseva says, well, I want a piece of this. So does Rodionovs. Brikis has just gone fastest of anybody. 44.526. 4 out of the top 5 drivers. Apart from Drobiseva, we're in the 44.5. Drobiseva was a high 44.6. But, interesting development. A little bit further behind. 9/10 behind the 322 is Lado Kukanidze and Artur Karu. They're about 1.3 seconds behind the 322 of Brikis at this moment. But now Dominguez is trying to stretch a lead. And it's just under half a second. Rodionovs wants third place back from Drobiseva. But you can tell by a driver's body language and how they rotate the cart into the respective corners. Drobiseva is holding station and is, more importantly, staying on the racing line. Now the slipstream takes effect going up through the reverse corkscrew through turns 1, 2 and 3. Now into the left at 4. The right-hander here at 5 before turn 6. And we've got that long run down to the sweeping right-hander that goes into itself here at turn 7. These drivers are really picking up speed now. Hard on the brakes, turn the cart in. Now into 8. Turn 9. So effectively, by my count, this has got 13 corners on it, including that flick-flack chicane that we're just about to approach now. So through turn 10. So 11 and 12. Into the left-hander here at turn 13. Gap was just under 0.6 of a second. It's now nearly 3/4 of a second, and you can see that Drobiseva is starting to work a little bit harder behind that wheel. But Dominguez has just punched in a 44.242. Sestikovs 44.389. Drobiseva 44.434. A 0.305 for Rodionovs, and Brikis a 44.366. So every one of the top 5 drivers are under as we are. I just caught there was a move actually happening a little further back. That might be between Kukanidze and Artokaho. There might have been a change as they come across the line. No, there isn't. So Kukanidze getting... Well, it was actually Noyes Gerolaitis in the 361 that got past Simset from Estonia in the 387 for 9th place. Just under 2 minutes to go until we hit the checkered. Well, plus an additional lap, and then we get the checkered flag. What am I talking about there? I'm getting ahead of myself there, folks. Never mind. But this battle for third place has been even Stevens. Quite a long time, but I'm sure that Rodionovs, who was literally 7/100ths behind Kate Drobiseva, is now mounting an attack. And it's not just about approaching one particular corner. here, one particular corner there, you are lining up a move. It may not even be several corners in advance, it might be several laps in advance. And that is the beauty of Rotax karting. Your move can be split second, or it can be evolving over a period of time. We're getting into the final 50 seconds of this race, so we're probably going to be more than likely, well, the leader's already crossed the line. Battle for third still wages on. Brigis is still there, right up the exhaust trails of Roman Rodionovs, who's been biding time. 30 seconds on the timer remains. We're on lap number 12. So we probably covered the best part of just north of 12 and a half or maybe 12 and 3/4 kilometres around this circuit in this senior Rotax heat. But Drobiseva is trying to keep things as they are right now. Going to be close on the timer for Tonis Johannes Tomingas, as Drobiseva still leads Rodionovs. And there's going to be one more lap after this. We're on to lap number 13 out of 14. And Tomingas's best lap so far in this race, 44.156. And that was done on lap number 10. So leaders coming through. Artyom Sestakovs was not quicker than Tonis Johannes Tomingas, who will get the last lap board out this time, as third, fourth and fifth make their way through the 13th and final corner here at the left-hander onto the start-finish straight. And what was the gap between Drobiseva and Rodionovs? Oh my goodness me. 75,000. That's not even 75 thousandths of a second as now Rodionovs goes for the move. And Brigis tries to go through on Drobiseva too, trying to get fourth away from the 350. But to no avail. That was through turn number 5. Rodionovs had full commitment, full self-belief, and knew that the move would work, and Drobiseva had to give the number 362 racing room, but it's going to be out of the final corner very shortly. Concentrate now on our leader. Estonia's Tonis Johannes Tomingas is going to come out of turn 13, and after 14 laps, the Estonian wins the heat here in seniors, ahead of Artyom Sestakovs and Roman Rodionovs rounding out the top 3. Kate Drobiseva having a drag race to the line a la Brian Spilner and Dominic Toretto, like in the first Fast and Furious movie. 8 100ths of a second covering them at the flag. Drobiseva taking 4th, Brigis taking 5th. Kukanidze 6th ahead of Arthur Karu, Danis Grava, Noyes Jarolaitis, and Simset rounding at the 10 strong. And Didzis Sulks crosses the line in 11th place and actually finishes a very, very finished on the same lap as the leaders. Total time completed by Tonis Johannes Tomingas was 10 minutes 25.995 seconds. Fastest lap of the race on lap number 10, 44.156. He then went on lap 11 and 14 to stay in the 44.1s. And that concludes the senior Rotax heat. And in just a couple of minutes' time, we'll be underway with our next heat. It's Minimax. So now it's time to get underway with Minimax, and in time qualifying this morning, Majus Mazinas took pole position by nearly 1/10 and a half of a second ahead of Latvia's Adrians Dions. Third it was Marco Plinta. Timus Persarica was 4th quickest, ahead of Gabriels Christis Moises, with Alex Menezes completing the top 6, covered by just under half a second. Martin Streber rounding out the top 7 ahead of Rodrigo Kakers. Matis Absitz in 9th. Marko Velveris from the amateur class actually posted a 40.097, putting the 166 in 10th, ahead of Klaus Hans, Ernest Ulmanis, and Marks Kononovs. So that is your starting grid here for the Minimax drivers as they now head on to their official formation lap, ahead of 7 minutes, plus an additional lap of racing. So Mazinas has a point to prove. Dion's won the final back at Kandava on the 20th of May. For those wondering about the calendar for this season, Rotax will be the scene of 2 rounds. That will be the 30th of June and the 1st of July, and then it hosts the 4th round, but that will be incorporated into the 2nd round of Rotax Max Challenge Nordic at Rotax at the 333 Sport Complex. 21st and 22nd of July. Smitana will be the penultimate round of the season. 4th to the 5th of August, and then Jelgava, 15th to the 16th of September. And they'll have a little bit of a break between round 5 and 6. Probably just about 42 days, which is about a month and a week or so, as the Minimax field gets into formation. Mazinas on pole, Dion's alongside. Out of the final corner. Are we ready? Are we steady? Revs rise. Green flag drops first time. And now it's the run up the hill. Adrian's Tions will lose second position to Marco Plinta as they go up the hill, as someone bumps over the curbs. Gets very, very close indeed. That was more than likely possibly the triple one of Gabriel's Christy Moises. As Mazinas leads the way, followed by Tions. No, not Tions. Tions is in 3rd. Plinta is in 2nd as they make their way through towards turn 10. Well, turn 9, now into turn 8, now 9, now into 10, and then turns 11 and 12 coming up shortly before they head into turn number 13. So, Mayus Mazinas leads after the opening lap by just under 2.5 tenths of a second. Dion's in 3rd place. Veveris at the moment has already... Oh, Veveris has made some moves as well. Up into 7th position goes the 166. Great work there by Marco Veveris. And also the 124, that's Ernest Ulmanis. Showing in 12th position, Max Kononovs in the 131, completing the 13 strong grid that are still running. Covered by 4.1 seconds, but someone's had a bit of a moment and has just ended up, I'm not sure if they ended up in the pit lane, but Mazinas leads the way. Plinta 2nd, Tions 3rd, Pesarica, and that looks to be the number 119 that just had that was Absitz, who's now down into 11th position that just went off the circuit. I thought I saw somebody going wide. But Mazinas has a lead of just under 2.5 tenths of a second ahead of Marco Plinta. Adrian Tions, Timos Pesarica, that's your top 4. Moises is about 8 tenths of a second behind this battle and has Martin Streber just behind in the 113. It might have been Veveris that might have dropped off, because Veveris was 7th at one point and now has dropped to 9th overall. Has a lead of 3.5 seconds over Ulmanis, who's in 2nd position, about 3 seconds behind. Mazinas has just put in the fastest lap of the race, 47.380 for the 177, representing Lithuania. 4 minutes and 18 seconds plus an additional lap still to go. But Mazinas did last time around, after the 3rd lap of racing, have a lead of nearly half a second. But you can bet your bottom dollar that the 3 behind won't want that gap to be any higher than half a second, because they'll know that once you get past that half-second threshold, you know. And Marco Plinta's just started responding as I've said that. It's just put in the fastest lap of the race, 47.226 seconds, and is now 0.418 behind Mazinas. who also did a high 47.2. It's a 47.284. So 18 thousandths of a second slower than the driver in second. Adrian Stion's just waiting, just trying to put the feelers out, so to speak, with regards to Marco Plinta. Pesarica is holding station in fourth place. Oh, we've had a red flag stoppage. Red flag out on the circuit with 3 minutes and 11 still to go. Not 100% sure why that has happened. So red flag has been called. So red flag has been called here in the mini heat 1. So the medical team is en route to turn number 6 at this moment. So we have a red flag stoppage. I repeat, a red flag stoppage with 3 minutes and 11 still to go on the timer for the Minimax heats here at the Madonna karting circuit for the second round of the Rotax Max Challenge Latvia season and also of the Latvian Championship.
Uzmanību! Gāj pa kartiņiem. Tātad, one lap, un start. Ja? Ok? Starts vienā kolonnā, ja? Tātad šitajā te pašā kolonnā. Gatavi? Fiksi. Atbrīvo trasi. Tā. Uzmanību kartiņi dodas trasē. Viens aplis un starts. Atsākam gongu.
So after a very lengthy delay, after the red flag stoppage with 3 minutes and 11 seconds completed of the mini-max heat, the green flag waves, the drivers will be under a single file restart formation. So it'll be full yellow, it'll be a full course yellow before we go back underway. The driver that was attended, I believe, is the 166 of Marco Ververes, who was running 8th. Medical team did have to go and check on Marco, so you know, our thoughts are with him at the moment. It's never easy to see a kart, an incident like that where the medical team is required, but safety is very, very paramount of every single one of our drivers here in the Rotax racing family. But the drivers being led by Marius Mazinas. The 177 green flag restarts the race. And we make our way up towards the corkscrew once again. And through to the left hand, now the right at turn 5. 3 minutes on the timer remaining, so we restarted with 3 minutes and 11 still to go, plus an additional lap. Mazinas leads the way. The green flags will wave all the way around the circuit, either on a restart like we just had just now, or when the green flag drops. So as things stand at the moment, Marius Mazinas leads the way. Marco Plinta, Adrian Stions, Dimos Peserica. That is your top 4 positions. Gabriel Christi Moises in 5th, Martin Streber 6th, Alex Menezes rounds out the top 7. Rodrigo Kakers now in 8th, Klaus Hans and Matis Absitz complete the top 10. Change for 2nd, however, has just transpired through turn 5. That was Adrian Stions on Marco Plinta. Very neatly executed move by the 171. We're going to turn 9, then 10, then 11 and 12. Before they head into the final left-hander. Here at turn number 13, Mazinas looks to have pulled a little bit of a gap over Tions. That gap now is next to nothing. It's probably about 2/10. There is the 141 of Dimos Peserica that holds on to 4th position but is looking for an opportunity. Just behind there is a little bit of a train that is being led by Adrian Stions. That is going to be 6 karts with Alex Menezes at the back end of it, the 126, running with the SM Racing crew. We head into the final 50 seconds plus an additional lap. And all drivers are on exactly the same lap, so I can't really tell you the differential between them. Marco Plinta looks to be within 3/10 to half a second behind the race leader at the very, very most. Adrian Stions, however, is now down in 4th position. Looks to be the 111 that might be ahead of him as they come through into turn number 10 and through 11-12, the chicane here. And then heading up to the final left-hander. This is going to be tight on time. It is tight on time. One more lap to go. And Marius Mazinas leads the field. up the hill. As Pesarica ahead of Tions, who has Treiber just behind in the 1-1-3, running what looks to be, that is going to be an Esprit chassis. Remember that kind of livery when Max Siderski was a Minimax driver in the last couple of seasons. We come towards the end of what has been a lengthily extended Minimax race, because the checkered flag will be out this time. Marius Mazinas nipped it in the bud for pole position, and the 177 representing Latvia will take the checkered and win the race ahead of Marco Plinta, who was 0.4 of a second adrift. Timos Pesarica managing to get the better of Adrian Tions, Martins Treiber, Gabriel's Christy Moises running at the top 6 positions. Ernest Ulmanis rounded out the top 11, 17.7 seconds behind the eventual race winner. Rodrigo Kakos, Matis Apsitz, Klaus Hans rounds out the top 10 with Ernest Ulmanis and Marks Kononovos rounding out the 12 strong, with Marco Veveris unfortunately being out of the race, which then saw the red flag being brandished. So that concludes the Minimax race. Up next, it's DD2. The green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid as DD2 head out onto the circuit. After qualifying earlier on this afternoon, it's the 418 of Patrick Snolls Lochmelis that will have Martins Janowskis alongside. Edgar Vilkans and Tomasz Birstins will line up on row number 2. Maxim Shurko and Daniel Hunt will be on row 3. Norris Dannebergs and Tomas Rudokas row 4. Richard Zvegvargas and Andris Lassis rounding out the top 10. Chris Jonzemis, Elmars Mikkelsons and Michaelis Buka round out the grid. Drivers now being instructed to slow. They are weaving from side to side to get some well-needed heat in the Mojo D5 CIK homologated tyres underneath them. It will be down to Lochmelis and Janowskis. It will control the pace. 9 minutes on the timer plus an additional lap. So the drivers now getting into a single file formation ahead of their 9 minute plus it's 10 minute plus an additional lap. A little bit longer this time for DD2. Masters up next after this one, and then Tillotson T4 to close out the show on Friday. Are we ready? Are we steady? The drivers head into the tram lines, the revs rise, and green flag waves first time. Good start by Lochmelis. Vilkans right up the exhaust pipe of the 418, getting through on the 422. of Martins Janowskis. As Tomasz Birstins in the 4.11 rounds out the top four. He's got Maxim Shurko in the 4.35 right with him. Norris Dennebergs in 6th place. Daniel Hunt 7th. Tomas Rudokas as an opportunity presented itself and Vilkans took full advantage. Got through on Janowskis. That's now a change for 2nd. Lap 1 completed and Lochmelis has nearly a half-second advantage over Vilkans. Janowskis in 3rd, Birstins, Shurko, Dennebergs, Hunt, Rudokas, Vegvargas, Lassis, Jonzemis, Mikkelsons and Buka. That is your order as there's going to be a change here. And that was Janowskis back up the inside of Birstins. That's now a change for 3rd place. What they need to start doing, those two, and I'm not going to tell them to get on the naughty step or get a slap on the wrist from race control or whatever. They need to start working together. They may not necessarily be on the same team. However, you start reeling those fish in front that you want to hook back to you. You've got to start doing it now. And they are, funny enough, on the same team. So one of the biggest things that you don't want to do is take out your teammate. Well, that's according to the official entry list. Looks like Elmas Mikkelson's showing up 9th on the timing so far. Well, 9th in the position, so a few changes. The likes of Daniel Hunt, Ricards Vegvargas, Tomas Rudokas, and Adrian Lassis rounding out the 13-strong field. We're over 2 minutes and a quarter into this DD2 heat. And the fastest lap of the race, first driver to go through into the high 43s. It's Martins Janowskis, but in the meantime, up the inside of the 460, well, that will look like the 465, that was the 435. Trying to keep an eye on these numbers. It is the 455. Ricards Vegvargas that has got through on Chris Jonzemis. Both on Birol ART chassis. Another one in tow, courtesy of Rudokas. As Lochmelis did for about 2 seconds put in the fastest lap of the race. He's got an advantage over Edgars Vilkans by just under 6.5 tenths of a second. Martins Janowskis, however, fastest lap of the race, 43.722. About 61 thousandths off of his lap time was Tomasz Birstins, who rounds out the top 4. And there is Maxim Shurko trying to get through on Norris Dennebergs. That is the battle for 5th on the road. Dennebergs on that particular occasion did a 44.0. Shurko 43.8. On to lap number 6 we go. Interesting battle developing between. That is the 414 of Dennebergs, who looks to be now ahead of Maxim Shurko. That's the battle for 5th place on the road as the top 4 cross the stripe, rounded out by Tomasz Birstins. Next to nothing between Denneberg and Shurko. It was like as if they were intertwined at the side pods, so to speak. But we have just under 5 minutes. We're halfway through this DD2 heat. And Lochmelis has opened up a gap over Vilkans. It now stretches to 1.1 seconds. Janovskis closing in on the 477 for that second place. Tomasz Birstins rounding out the top four, who are covered at this moment by just 4/1000 shy of 2 seconds. It's one thing for you to catch and close on in on your opponents in front of you, but we all know you can make the slightest error, the slightest mistake, and thereby it puts you either on the grass, on the curb, or in the tyres. Shurko, in the meantime, has made his way up into 6th position ahead of Daniel Hunt, Ricards Vargas, Chris Gonzemis, and a whole host of others. Thomas Rudorkas rounds out the top 10 overall here as we go into the final 3 3/4 minutes of this race. I can tell by the way that Maxim Shurko is trying to drive the wheels off the 435 Birel ART. He does not want to be satisfied with the position that he's currently in. Now, line of sun coming over the hill. But at the moment, it is still very much in the hands of Patrick Snolls Lochmelis. Vilkans on the completion of lap 10 as we are fast approaching the last 2.5 minutes to put it in the fastest lap of the race. 43.279. Meanwhile, Denberg's battling away with Shurko. Shurko looking for a move up the inside or the outside, depending on which direction Norris Denberg's goes. On that particular occasion, it was a case of hold station, wait, and bide your time. Again, when you are putting out these lengthy heats, you know, these drivers are effectively slow barbecue cooking in these race suits, to pardon the pun. And again, it's just so close between the two, you just don't know. You just don't know what exactly is going to happen because everything happened. Well, they say that in some respects, it's not about how hard you can get hit. It's just how hard you can keep on getting hit and keep moving forward. And that's what you got to do. You know, especially in karting when you're having to deal with so many different factors. You know, how's the kart reacting? What's the deg like on the tyres? Do I have enough room with regards to fuel come the end of this race? If you are marginal on fuel in the dying stages of a race, you're going to cause yourself a massive, massive headache, because if you start slowing down on the start-finish rate, oh dear, it's just not what they need. They just need to just keep pushing forward. But the way that Lochmelis has kept a hold of this gap, which has been either a second or slightly slower, slightly less, it's 0.934. As we're going to go on to our penultimate lap, will be lap number 14 very shortly as our leader comes out of the final corner. Lap 12, that's lap 13 in the book. So we're going to get this and one more additional lap. So the timer is counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Last lap board will be out this time. And Lochmelis is just over halfway through the lap. He might be catching some back marker traffic. So the remainder of the top four see the final lap board as they head into the shadows, the top part of the circuit, just through the F1, well, effectively the F1 corner. But this driver here, Patrick Snolls Lochmelis, was in the hunt for the victory at Charolais for RMC Nordic. He's also a multi-time Grand Finals qualifier and will be looking to book his ticket this year. But the checkered flag will be prepared this time, and it is going to wave. Well done, Patrick Snolls Lochmelis, who wins. Bill Cans closed the gap, but only by just over 8.5 tenths of a second. So Lochmelis takes the win by 0.880 seconds ahead of Edgars Vilkans. Martin Janowskis takes third ahead of Tomasz Birstins, Maxim Shurko, Daniel Hunt, Norris Stenebergs, Rickard Vargas, Chris Jonzemis, Thomas Rudokas, Mikkeles Buka, Adrian Zlassis and Elmar Mikkelsons rounding out the 13-strong grid. Mikkelsons being the only of the DD2 drivers in the amateur category. So there you go, that's the second from last heat completed, but up next is going to be the oldest members of the Rotax racing family. It is going to be DD2 Masters. So the green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid, and we go into our penultimate heat of the weekend. It's DD2 Masters. After pole position was decided, Martinas Stankiewicz will line up on pole. Alongside him will be Juris Zalaitis. Rickard Skansims and Nicolas Mazinas will be on row number 2. Pritsai and Rudis Klavins will be on row number 3. Ivars Rus and Martin Sorolis will be on row 4, with Arman Skanks and Ilya Aloskins rounding out the top 10 positions. Kristaps Kalixons will be on 11th position and will be the highest qualified of the amateur DD2 Masters drivers, followed by Margus Kingu and Mariana Baranovskaya. That is your 13-star grid, as it's a full course yellow as the drivers make their way around this 1,060-metre circuit with around 13 turns by my count. Well, that's my own referencing points there, but everyone can agree to disagree on that one with me. So again, it's going to be 10 minutes on the timer plus an additional lap for this, and then to conclude the day we will have the rumbling of Tillotson T4 to bring us to the end of today's action. We'll get back underway at 10:30 Eastern European Summer Time tomorrow morning. Warm-up will take place from 9 o'clock as our 13 drivers get steeled and get ready to go racing. So 10 minutes on the timer. It's going to be an interesting one because we have Stankiewicz on pole position with Zalaitis alongside. Birds chirping in the nearby countryside scenery as we come out of the final corner. Are we ready? Are we steady? DD2 Masters heads into the tram lines. The revs start to build. Green flag drops first time, and we are away and racing. Great start there by a couple of the drivers, but Tankovic has got the whole shot he needed up the reverse corkscrew. As they go through into turn 4 for the first time, go down the descent. Green flags waving all around the circuit. Looks like Pritsai has got himself up into third position. Oh, but that was a Sony card up the inside of him. And that's caught somebody else out as well. Oh, dearie me. And that was at turn 6. Pritsai looks to be in some discomfort, I believe, after that contretemps. It just goes to show that the risk versus reward at such a tight left-hander at turn 6, you risk it and you don't get the reward, you're going to cause problems for others. And that's exactly what happened. And that might have been Zelaitis that might have caused the problem as a result, because Tankovic now has a 6/10 advantage at this moment. Kalnsims in second, Mazinas in third, Ivars Us, Rudis Klavins in, they are 4th and 5th respectively. Armand Skanks and Martins Rollis ran at the top 7. Ilya Aloskins is all, that was the 5:06. Kalixon's going around there, spinning on the grass and kicking some dust up in the air. But Tankovic has broken into the high 44s, and he's not the only one. Mikolas Mazinas, who's in third place, there's another dive up the inside. That was through into turn number 4. Now, who on earth was that? Because that was a Paralin chassis, and the dive bomb again has happened through the very next corner. And 2 for the price of 1, as in one driver losing 2 positions. That was very, very close indeed, because we saw the incident with Pritsai a little bit earlier on, and someone else decided the risk versus reward possibility was on the cards and made it work. So Tankovic's lead is substantial. It's 2.5 seconds after 3 laps. Count seems dropping, as there is Ivars Us. I think that might have been looking up the inside. That was on the that was Ivars Us. That might have been possibly Klavins looking towards the inside, as this is the battle for second position. 2.5 seconds adrift of Lithuania's Martinas Tankovic, who has cantered into the distance and has also got the fastest lap of the race of 44.905. Mazinas in third, Us in second. Klavins rounds out the top 5. A little bit further behind, you've got the likes of Rollins and Doloskins competing over 6th and 7th position. Doloskins started in 10th. Mazinas looking to fire up a move up the inside, possibly on turn 4, but might look at turn 6 very shortly. The 575 looks towards the inside of turn 6, but might get the drag coming down this back straightaway. Into the left at 7, now into the right at 8. So in that train, you've got Kalnsims, Mazinas, Ivars Us and Rudis Klavins at the back end of that. There might be a look up the inside. Klavins was looking up the inside of Us, as Mazinas might get the run coming out of the final corner along the start-finish straight. Here they go up into turn 1. And Kalnsims holds his nerve and holds his position once again. Mazinas is in a bit of between a rock and a hard place situation right now, because either it's defend against Ivars Us or he's got to go for it against Ricards Kalnsims. Now down, back through into turn 7 they go once again. So Pritsai, not too sure if he's still circulating, but there has been there was an attempt. There was an attempt by Mikolas Mazinas on Ricards Kalnsims, and it didn't pay off. Mazinas lost all that momentum that he'd gathered over 2 or 3 laps. Just under 5.5 minutes to go. Tankovic's lead is nearly the best part and nigh on 3 seconds, as Mazinas in the braking zone coming out of turn 3 and into 4 is right on the back bumper of the 509, and he's looking up the inside through into turn 6. Oh, and it's a turnaround for Kalnsims. There might have been a little bit of contact, or maybe the 509 tried exiting the corner, and it was a case of there was no room, and he spun it around, and he's out of the top 4, maybe even out of the top 5. And you just see, yeah, he's way out of the top 5 now. Because there is, I think that's the 5.69 of Rudis Klavins. And now the battle for second heats up and goes into another gear. Mazinas is now the hunted individual. But what a shame there for Ricard's Count team's doing so well, defending sternly against Mikolas Mazinas, and all of a sudden Mazinas just sent it, and I think they might have just interlocked wheels, and Count seems to have spun around as a direct correlation. What that's enabled Martinas Stankiewicz to do is move away cleanly, fairly, to the tune of 3.7 seconds. Lap 8 has been completed. Oh no! Another drama. That is Klavins. That is Klavins, who was running in 4th. I don't believe it. We are having an attrition-filled DD2 Masters race. Oh my goodness. Count seems you'll be pleased to know he's still running, but he's down in 8th position. So that just goes to show that you could be running on pace and something lets go on the cart, it fails underneath you. But keep your eyes on Mikolas Mazinas, who's got a second wind all of a sudden. He's just put in on the previous lap, on lap 8, he put in a 44.640. He's just done another fastest lap on the fly. 2 on the bounce, the gap now down to 2.3. Mikolas Mazinas, with 3 minutes on the clock plus an additional lap to go, has just taken over 0.7 of a second out of the race leader. Over 0.7, that's probably 9 a second. And Mikolas Mazinas, 44.622, the fastest lap, and that's on lap 9. We've still got 2.5 minutes to go. Stankiewicz is going to have to watch his 6 very, very soon as blue flags are waving around the circuit. What's the gap now? It's 1.9! 1.9 seconds, a third successive 44.6 second lap time for Mikolas Mazinas. And he's chasing down his countryman. That is incredible pace at this late stage, despite the incident with the 5.09 of Ricard's Count seems. I'm not too sure if there was contact. There might have been a bit of sidewall rubbing. That can spin a cart around quite easily on its axes. And Count seems has recovered to now 7th position. Okay, 1 3/4 minutes to go. 3 laps to go, including this one. Gap has now expanded because Stankiewicz has just responded and has absolutely mincemeated the fastest lap. He's just put in a 44.4. Now I know Stankiewicz. I've known Martinas for a long time, ever since I met this man a couple of years ago. And when you see someone gathering pace, Stankiewicz can bring a lap like that, snap of the fingers, and you do not know what's hit you. The gap's gone up to nearly 2.2. 60 seconds on the timer remains. 2 laps to go. Maybe make that 3 laps to go, including this one. Gap now down. All right. Hang on a second. Last lap from Martinas Stankiewicz, 45.125. Mikolas Mazinas has just done a 44.5. So is Martinas Stankiewicz having to wrestle with a problem? But Mazinas looks very, very comfortable behind the wheel of the 575 Praga as we're going into the dying stages of the race. It'll be 2 laps to go after this one. But Stankiewicz could be on a conservation strategy. He might be holding something back. They come out of the final corner. Gap was 1.6. Now it's 1.1. And, well, Mikolas Mazinas has just done over nearly half a second on that last lap. Time has expired, so we've got this and one more lap to go. The gap now, 1.1 seconds between Martinas Stankiewicz and Mikolas Mazinas. And there's a couple of back markers, and one's just spun it through turn number 10. Kicks up the dust all hell and Larry right there, and has beached the kart. Now the last lap board is out. Gap is now 8 tenths. 44.9 plays 44.614. So one driver has spun it big time. Now, who on earth was that? Didn't really catch who it was. But Martinas Stankiewicz is going to come through turn 8. There's Mikolas Mazinas. It's going to be a very, very satisfying third place here for Ivars Urs. Ilya Loskin started at the bottom part of the top 10. Now is P4. 7.85 behind. And that is Margus Kingu, who's the one that beached it and is sitting by the sidelines. But out of the final corner, it's Martinas Stankiewicz that picks up the victory. And the gap came down to 5.5 tenths of a second, with Mikolas Mazinas finishing in just behind the 5:33. Mazinas takes second. Ivars Urs, as they say in Japanese martial arts, 5:20 takes third place ahead of Ilya Aloskins. Started 10th, finished 4th. Martin Zrolis, Armanskanks, Rickard Skansims finished in 7th, whilst battling for second position earlier on with Mikolas Mazinas. Yurisalaitis in 8th. Kristaps Kaleksons. Mariana Baranovskaya completes the top 10. Margus Kingu in 11th, finishing on the side of the road actually, 3 laps down. Rudis Klavins out after a technical failure, might have been engine related, coming into the final corner with 7 laps to go. And Pritsai, unfortunately, after that tangle with, I think it was Zelaitis earlier on, out on lap number 4. Well, one more race to conclude the action here at Madonna Karting Circuit here in the Vidzemie region. It's Tillotson T4. 19 karts going into battle for 6 laps. I can't wait for this one. So we now go on to our 7th and final heat of the weekend here at Rotax Max Challenge Latvia here at Madonna. It's Tillotson T4. Post-qualifying, unfortunately, Davis Salmans was disqualified by being found to be 0.6 of a kilo underweight. He was due to start on the outside of row 1 alongside Haris Gladkins, but the 9.25 of Elisabetta Johan Sulce will start from the outside of the front row. Kristofers Kaune and Yanis Gudovs will be on the very next row. Then it's Kirils Dimitrevs and Petris Rusa, Arvo Dripe and Kristianis Kaune. Then Daniels Petris Beresins, Andris Klinkans, Warons Dripe, Gits Lapskauns, Juris Kalveles, Martins Ritovs, Iveta Akmen Kalne, and then we've got Rudolfs Toms Beresis, Dacic Rosberga, Liga Dripe, and then Davis Salmans starting from the back of the 19-strong grid. They've carried out their sighting lap, and now it's time for the formation lap. It will be a rolling start, if I remember correctly, here on Tillotson T4. I have commentated on them before, but there are some of the names that you will see with the respective driver numbers. For those that are at home watching, thank you very much for having joined us throughout the day. Don't forget you can download the Speed Hive My Laps app, which you can actually use without a login. I found that out a little bit earlier on last month when I was in Chalet for the RMC Nordic. But it's going to be a 2x2 formation. It's the 991 on pole, the 925 alongside, and it's going to be 6 laps. So 290cc engines on these Tillotson T4s. Everyone can choose their livery, but the machinery is the same underneath for everybody in this class. Out of the final corner, are we ready? Are we steady? Tillotson T4 rumbles its way down the tram lines, and the green flag waves. And a roar of Tillotsons make their way up the hill, through into the reverse corkscrew for the first time, 3 wide at the back end of the grid, as the leaders make their way through into turn number 4. Top 5 have already started breaking away. And there's going to be a battle for the lead here. Kristofers Kaune, trying to get through for the race lead, has to hold back as the 991 of Haris Gladkins leads them through, coming out of turn number 8 into turn 9, the right-hander. Move and a change. Yanis Gudovs up to P3. Now into the left-hander here at turn 10 for the turn 11-12 chicane before we go through the 13th and final corner. Gladkins leads the way after the opening lap. It's a 3-way scrap at the front of the field. But look how big the train is coming up the hill once again. And Kudos has the fastest lap, 54.240. Now goes up the inside through turn 5. That was a brilliant move by the 901 for second position. And now there's going to be a change for 4th place. Dimitrevs, I think, might have just got it. No, Elisabetta Johan Sulce says through, but then there's someone who fires it from nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. That was Petris Rusa. Through into turn 7. Now another change. Dimitrevs back up the inside. Switchback attempt through turn 9 by Petris Rusa. My goodness me. We're about to complete we're on to lap 2 and there's a free-for-all. An absolute free-for-all as they come out of the final corner. What's the leaders? Well, Gladkins has got a lead as we've got contact and an incident at the bottom of the hill. Coming down the start-finish straight, 2 carts involved, 1 backwards and into the gradient. And that just goes to show when push comes to shove and to make contact. Oh, there's more contact. Someone spun 180 degrees as he made contact with another car coming out of turn number 6. It's getting a bit fast and frantic out there. And I know for a fact that the stewards might have a few inquiries to pursue post-race. But we're about to complete our 3rd lap. And the top 3 have broken away big time. It is Gladkins versus Kudovs versus the 915 of Kristofers Kaune. Kudovs has just put in the fastest lap of the race, 51.194. Petris Russa in 4th. Raivo Dripe, Kiros Dimitrevs, Elisabetta Johan Sulce completes the top 7. Then it's Daniels Petris Berzins, Roland Dripe and Juris Calvelis that complete the top 10. And now there's a change. Kudovs has got the lead, but Gladkins is trying to fight back and now has Kaune to the outside through into turn 9. And Kudovs has gotten away. That's at least probably a 0.3 of a second advantage. So Gladkins lost the lead. Kudovs went through. Kaune thought there was an opportunity. Now we'll get one out of the final corner. On to lap number 5 we go. 2 more including this one. Battle for second has just gone up another gear. And Gladkins having to battle away with Kaune, who's about half a kart length behind. The gap between them was not even a 0.1 of a second. It was 0.86. 0.086 of a second. But Kudovs has got to watch himself because Gladkins looks to be closing that gap. So the drivers make their way through. Petris Russa has managed to bolt away from those behind and has got to within 1.4 seconds. So we're on to lap number 5. Well, we're on to our 5th lap. According to this. So lap 5 has been completed. We're getting towards the tail end. It has been a very, very combustible affair in this first race in Tillotson T4. Am I surprised? The definitive answer, no. But it's great to see people competing on level machinery. There's only a fraction of adjustments they can do. They're running on the same tyres, same chassis, same engine, same 290cc displacement. But out of the final corner, it's going to be Yanis Kudovs that takes the win after 6 laps of racing. Haris Gladkins came to within 0.2 of the 901, and what's more, set the fastest lap of the race. 50.812. Kristofers Kaune, Petris Russa and Raivo Dripe round out the top 5. Kiros Dimitrevs, Daniels Petris Berzins, Ronalds Dripe and Juris Kavelis with Andres Klinkans completing the top 10. Elisabetta Johan Sulce started on the front row. She finished in 11th ahead of Rudolf Toms Berzins. David Zalmans, who was excluded post-qualifying by being 0.6 of a kilo underweight, started from the back of the field, finished 13th. Martin Zritovs, Dacie Grosberga, Liga Dripe, Kryzianis Kaune, and Gerts Labskans rounded out the 18 strong. Unfortunately, on lap 2, we lost Iveta Akmangalne, but that concludes the action here for the first afternoon of racing. We've had qualifying, we've had the first set of races, so 7 down, 14 to go. And that is it really from us here at Madonna Karting Circuit for the second round of the Rotax Max Challenge Latvia and the Latvia Karting Championship. A big thank you to you all for watching. The racing resumes at 10:30 tomorrow morning when we have the pre-finals getting underway. It will be the same order as today, so Micromax, Junior, Senior, Mini, DD2, Masters and T4s. And then we'll start at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow afternoon with the finals to conclude who will join the list of drivers that have already won the finals so far this season. Well, that's it from me, Alex Goldschmidt. Big thank you to Edgar and the team at No Limits Video Production. Until tomorrow morning, it's ciao for now.